Present.
Wilder.
Here.
Pedestris.
Here.
Budney.
Here.
Van Oz. Here. We have everybody's here present. We have in the audience our engineer, Sahil Sabak, the operator of our wastewater plant, Joe O'Keefe, and former member of the commission and now trustee, Jim Nelson. Welcome. As well as a staff, Lorinda Beneteau and John Keim. Thanks for being here. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
What I'd like to do at this point is introduce our newest member, Lenny Pedestris.
Yes, Lenny Pedestris.
And he does go by the name Lenny.
Yes, sir.
I asked Lenny if he would make a couple brief comments about his background, and then I think we'll go around the table and introduce ourselves a little bit again.
Yes, Lenny Pedestris, lived on Grosse Ile for roughly 10 years. Anxious and excited to get involved with the community. I appreciate the opportunity to sit on this board. I also sit on the Open Space Commission as well. And my background is automotive, Tier 1 automotive parts or engineering services to the OEs. Been a car Detroiter guy my whole life. So look forward to working with you guys. Appreciate your time, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. We're glad you're here. I think we'll go around briefly, but you've already met me, and I've been chairman a few years. Ted Van Oz preceded me as chairman, and Ted is now a township treasurer. We'll start with Ted.
Yeah, we've met.
Well, I'm talking about. Okay.
I want you to talk about yourself for a minute, I guess.
All right. We already, he lost his voice anyway. We'll start at the right of me then, Les.
My name's Les Schmidtke. I've been around here for 50 years with this municipality. I retired out of the DPW in 2010, and they asked me to come and be on the commission. I've been on Grosse Ile my whole life. That's a long time. Not telling you how long.
Right, Phil.
Phil Kennedy. I'm retired. I've been on the island 27 years, lived down on Swan Island, and been on the commission about, 4 years? Probably 3 or 4, yeah, maybe a little more. And enjoyed it very much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
John?
Hi, Lenny. We
Hi.
met before.
Yes,
We
we have.
spoke earlier.
Yes.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very quiet man, humble man.
Yes.
Ron.
Ron, I'm been retired for about 3.5 years, been on the island 19 years, been on the committee for 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Jim Budney, I think you know.
Yes.
What's his name again?
Yeah, Jim Bodney. I've been on the island 52 years. I just was pleased to get elected to my second term as trustee of the board, and also serving as liaison for our DPS commission, which I actually enjoy that. I put that ahead even of the trustee of the board.
Making that public?
Well, John, how about you, John Keim?
John Keim, Grosse Ile Department of Public Services, the last 18 years, and lived on the island for the last 18 years as well.
Linda?
I'm Lorinda Beneteau.
Hi.
I've been the interim manager now for the past 3 years.
Okay.
I've been with the township since 1993, and I grew up here. I no
perfect.
longer live here, but I still like coming back.
Sure, understood.
So that we know everybody that's key to our organization. So Hal, you next.
At Senior Rains Company, I'm the township engineer. I've been serving the island for over 26 years.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Joe?
Joe Keefe, I've managed the
Sure.
road.
Oh, impressive. Thank you.
Last but not least, Mr. Nelson. Do you know Lenny?
I do know Lenny.
Okay.
He's been on
Okay.
Which
So
I,
you know each other. Okay.
which I still cannot drive them.
and I'm only here because I'm Jim
Go for it.
Well, Jim, it's good to see you, and again, I want to say we appreciated all your hard work on our DPS commission. So we've approved the agenda. Welcome, Lenny.
Yes, thank you.
The next item is approval of the minutes of the November 8th meeting. You've all had a chance to look at them. There was a page missing from the minutes, which Lorinda's corrected, which was the front page of the letter, November 7th, to Andrew Kandrivas, Deputy Director of Public Services. And the letter involves a request we made through our engineer's office, and Mr. Budney and I attended a meeting with Wayne County, that if we build the West River Road water main, and it goes under the northbound lane, which is the east lane, we asked the county if they would resurface the west lane after we complete the water main. And that's what this was a follow-up to. So I think it's important that we talk about this item. As a matter of fact, Mr. Budney and I are meeting with Mr. Kandrivas here at Township Hall tomorrow, and we're going to drive West River Road. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow. Just the three of us. It was purposely set up to be a small meeting to kind of brainstorm with him. And we're going to ride more than West River, East River, Meridian, and all our other roads that are in need of attention. So next, the minutes. We have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of November 8th, 2000.
Is there support?
I'll support it.
Any questions? I think we already voted on this. Maybe not. But
They haven't.
Okay, so any questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Next, you have approval of the vouchers, pages 9 through 13. Are there any questions? Hearing none, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve bills, vouchers 13,549 through 13,557.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. I don't hear any questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, on pages 14 through 19, you have a update on our statements of revenues and expenditures. And unless we have any questions, we'll just receive and file that. No questions. We'll move on to item number 8, which is the treasurer's report. And that is found on page 20 of your packet. Can we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. We accept the treasurer's report. I just want to call to your attention, if you look at page 20, I did approach our finance director, Ann. I was a little confused about the $500,000. It appears up under disbursements. It's interfund activity, and really what it was is the general fund has had to transfer the $500,000 to pay off for this summer's neighborhood road improvement program. And if you look in the back, then on page 21, it says due to roads. Well, that's actually due to DPW, so it's in and out of the road fund. That $500,000 is really, as it indicates, it's not in the road fund. So that's an in and out fund, and I guess we're going to talk about the final update on the roads program anyway. So we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report. I'll note that in the DPW funds, we have a total of $3.7 million. And, of course, most of that's set aside for improvements at the wastewater plant. But at any rate, if there aren't any other questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. All right. There's no public here to comment unless Mr. Nelson wishes to comment. Thank you. We have a presentation tonight. Lorinda and our engineer, Sahal Sabak, who made arrangements for a brief video. And then John Keim and Lorinda are going to give you an update on a visit we made to Canton Township to look at this equipment actually working. So hopefully this will be somewhat self-explanatory. Lorinda, the floor is yours.
This is the City of Carlsbad Wastewater Collections Division. What are they doing now? What we're looking at is a closed-circuit televising van, and this unit is used to televise pipelines, specifically sewer and storm drain pipelines, to check the condition from inside. Once the pipe is buried and in the ground, this is pretty much the only way we can identify issues and problems and check the conditions for capital improvement projects or for repairs. By using this unit with a locator, we can get a pretty close pinpoint on where a problem would be and make a point repair at that section, or know if an entire segment of sewer main or storm drain pipe is bad, and if we have to replace the entire pipeline. What we're looking at now is the TV camera lens. Pat, one of the crewmen, is cleaning that lens, getting it ready to go into the sewer main and take pictures. The camera lens rotates so they can look at different angles. There's lights in that camera head. You can see this particular unit is on a track. It drives itself down the sewer main. The operator can stop it to inspect different things.
Stop it. Okay, you're good. Rotate your head. Turn the lamps on. Go forward. Forward. Reverse. Keep reverse.
Now the camera is tested, and the crew will get ready to lower it in to televise the main and do an inspection on this pipeline.
Good. Take it to 9. You like?
Now the camera's in the pipeline, and the footage counter will be set to begin filming and have an accurate footage. The back-end operator will set up the roller to protect the cable, set the counters. The gray reel we're looking at is the cable reel. There's about 13 to 1,400 feet of cable on that reel. In the back end of the truck, there's a monitor for the back end operator to watch the actions of the camera while they're setting up. We'll go into the main operations room. So the city of Carlsbad has several trained operators for the CCTV van. Tom has the most experience here. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
And Tom will explain some of the operating controls that run the TV van.
Okay, today this is a daily function of what we do out in the field, and we basically take shots or we inspect the inner portion of the pipe. So today we're out on Forest, and we're going to be filming the inside of the pipeline. And we're set to go outside, cameras in place, and this is the control functions of the camera. This is where we operate from, and we're just going to go along and see if we notice anything that's inside the pipe.
So at this time, the TV operator is entering the data into the Granite XP software, which records all the data that we find in a sewer line televising project. And in front of us you see a picture of the camera looking down the pipe. And then we also have a full view screen.
We found some broken pipe in this first run if you want me to bring it back and show it to you. .4 feet, we have pretty moderate crack in the pipe starting in the 10 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position. We'll go ahead and document and take pictures of it. Also roots protruding through. Looks like they put up some type of, I don't know, some kind of like conduit over it or something where they hit it with the backhoe.
And these are the things we look for with the TV truck. So we know when the pipe needs to be repaired. We have a location, 160.8 feet. We can identify this with a locator or mark the ground within a foot of where the actual hole is and do a point repair on the spot or use a slip line point repair. That's what the CCTV crew does. Thank you.
Okay, Lorinda and John, you're going to take over from here at Sahile. But, you know, from the manhole, we were there in Canton. Of course, the first thing they do is they clean the manhole. They have a sewer jet machine. They clean the catch basins, and then they flush the manhole. There's still sewage running through it, but then they drop the camera, and so it is quite a process. You have a sewer cleaning machine, and John, why don't you and Sahile and Lorinda address us on this? I wanted you to see what the video is great. It shows you, gives you an idea, right? Those of you that didn't see it, what that looks like in the pipe.
So as Bill stated, it requires cleaning of the system prior to televising. So most operations require a 3-person dedicated team just for that process. 1 person to clean, 1 person to televise, 1 person for ground operations. They didn't show the cleaning part of it, which is really the biggest part of it. You got to have a clean pipe to see through. You can't drive through the dirt. You can't drive through the roots or obstructions. So you got to have a clean pipe. While we did the demonstration in Canton, the DPS director there had mentioned they have come out with a new process where they have a camera that actually goes onto the end of the cleaning line. So when you're cleaning, you're seeing exactly what you're doing, just like you're TVing it. So you know that you've got it cleaned, or if there's an obstruction, what the obstruction is and how to get it out prior to putting your TV equipment in there. So you're not tearing up your equipment, you're not wasting downtime with the guy sitting there waiting for you to have the pipe clean enough for him to televise. The last time we did this process was 15 years ago. We did approximately 85% of the system. And since then we've done partials here and there as needed.
When was the last time you did this?
You mean for partials?
For the last time you did it, you said
we did some this year when we did the East River Water Main project. We had televised the sanitary sewer prior to start and then post after to make sure there was no breaches in that pipe. Then while they were here, we had them go ahead and televise the West River section where we're going to do the new water main to see what the integrity of that pipe is. And then Sahile has some recommendations.
When's the last time you did the whole thing, John?
15 years ago.
So Les, you
2001.
were around then, right, Les?
Yep.
And the reason they only did 85% at that time is there are a lot of large inaccessible pipes that require special equipment to get to at the time, and we chose not to do it at that time.
Well, this is a presentation time, so Hal?
I'm going to talk about the process after the sewer is cleaned and televised. It's an assessment process that we have to go through. You review the tapes that you see being performed, and you assess the damages. You assess what needs to be done to the sewer pipe. Sometimes they need nothing done to them. Sometimes you have to do point repair. Sometimes the whole pipe is disintegrated and needs to be either removed and replaced or repaired by trenchless technologies. And there are lots of technologies out there that can take care of it without having to excavate. It's either by pipe bursting, which we've done on Groseal, or slip lining, which we've also done on Groseal. Those are trenchless technologies that are very successful and very less intrusive than open cut and excavation. The reports are pretty involved. You just assess every piece of damage in the pipe, and you quantify it and put an estimate for it so you can figure out how much it's going to take to repair it. Again, that's after this process. So part of the SRF project, we did televise, like John mentioned, the majority of the sanitary system, mostly the smaller pipes. And we did detect lots of damage area that needed repairs, and we did repair them. But again, part of the operation maintenance of the system is to continue with this process on a regular basis and perform the same thing, cleaning and televising, to reassess again. The system is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse as time goes by. So you need to figure out if you need to repair it or to leave it alone if it's okay. And that's what we're talking about tonight, the process of scheduling something to undertake these operation and maintenance tasks that are technically required by the EQ, and eventually it'll become part of the asset management of the system that we'll be talking also about tonight.
I recall, Sohail, you're saying that this recommend that we do 1/5 of the island each year?
That is the process that the EQ is requiring from every community to do that 1/5 of the system, so you can, on a 5-year basis, look at the entire system and see what's needed.
And then after the 5 years, is that then repeated again?
It repeats itself, yes.
So every section is visualized every 5 years on a repeat cycle.
Now, sometimes when you do a repair, such as a replacement, we know that this sewer is not going to go bad for 50 years. Why even tackle it? If we do a replacement process or a slip lining or a pipe bursting process, we know that that pipe is going to last 50 years. We may convince DEQ that we're not going to revisit it again. There's no point looking at it again in 5 years. So
outside of some other damage.
Yes.
Okay, but you're also saying that's a requirement, is to have it monitored every 5 years.
Televised every 5 years, yes.
Okay.
We have in the packet, I asked Lorinda to put in the packet the information on when this was bid with Gibraltar, I believe.
It was bid with Riverview, and we had Terra Contracting televise a system as part of the SAW program that's been performed in Riverview. And what happened is whenever we bid these projects, we bid them as a cooperative bidding process. So the bid will be open to other communities if they choose to extend the contract. Again, that's subject to the approval. Let's say Groseal want to go with the Riverview's contract. We'll ask Riverview if they're willing to extend theirs to Groseal, and if they say yes, the same unit prices that are in the contract with Riverview will extend to Groseal, and you perform that process that way. It'll save you the bidding cost and the time of the bidding. It takes 3 months between going out for bids and signing a contract on a project like that. And if the price is good, you may as well take advantage of it. So,
are you aware of any communities that you know of that are in downriver that are desirous of doing this too?
Well, we are putting Gibraltar out for bids because they chose to bid their city on their own instead of extending Riverview. So that's coming out for bids in the next month or so. The entire city of Gibraltar sanitary and storm system will be bid out for cleaning and televising, part of the SALT program.
Is that why they went separate?
They went separate because Terra Contracting that we recommended ended up getting sold, and we don't know the new complexion of the new company. I just didn't want to take a chance anymore and say, yes, this new company is the same as the old one. We don't know.
Okay.
It's totally new management, new process. So I didn't want to take a chance on that and have them sign up with a contractor that we don't even know about. Same thing goes for Groseal. I mean, we made the recommendation at the time to Groseal. A month later, they decided to sell out. So it's time now to go out for bids again and see what happens.
Now, stay there. In Canton's case, they have basically the water and sewer department.
Correct.
And could you go over, John, the figures that you got from them about they have 10 people full-time?
Correct.
$4 million budget?
Be dedicated strictly to this
Three
program.
people of their 10 are dedicated to doing this all the time.
Program, yes, sir. And a GIS in-house coordinator.
Say that again?
Geographic Information System coordinator as well, so 4.
So they're really mapping everything.
Correct.
The manholes,
Entire
the
system
pipe,
design,
and so forth.
Geographic
Right.
Information System.
So I know the last time we discussed this, I think Ted raised the question about maybe we should look at purchasing the equipment ourselves. Maybe we should do this in-house, some of it in-house, bring it in-house. We budgeted $150,000, Lenny. For over a number of years, we've budgeted that amount, thinking we'd kick this off, but we haven't gotten it started yet. It's been a complex issue relating this to some of the other sewer issues that we've had with litigation and the big sewer program we had. But so this year we budgeted $150,000, and because Terra got bought out or whatever, we were looking at going with them. That was one consideration. So here's my thought. The first action item on tonight's agenda, I asked Linda to put it on, would be to authorize Raines to go out to bid. You're bidding Gibraltar's. I assume that getting a bid document for us together would be fairly easy. And if you get the bids in February, that would give us time to budget a figure for the budget that's coming up for April 1st. And at that time, once we know the prices, then if we want to look at buying equipment, comparing what it would do to bring us our own people on board, we can put all those figures together at that time, if that's agreeable with everybody, but at least we'd have a price in hand. When we went out to Canton, Jim, we talked about a couple things. One is, if we took bids on this, we would propose it be over a 5-year program to begin with. But we would also have in the contract that we would have the right to terminate at any point, after any 1 year, so that we wouldn't be locked into the full 5 years. You had a suggestion how we might word that.
It's, I mean, you have the right idea, except I like to bid it in the other direction. I like to bid it for 1 year with the option to extend for another year after that. At least this way they know that we may, if they perform well, we'll give them an extension for the year after.
That sounds fine to me.
So,
And I open it up for discussion. Concept. Bidding it for 1 year, and I guess you would define the area that we're going to start with.
Sure.
Number of linear feet of so many size sewer pipe and so forth, right? That's the basis.
right. Well, what we have done is we have separated the township into 5 districts, and we have them labeled 1 through 5. And the reason we have them labeled in this order is the District 1 is the oldest sewer system in the township, and we like to start focusing on that first, see what the condition of that system is. Then we'll proceed to District 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, it could be bid, like I said, as a 1-year program with the possibility of extending it to 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, depending on the performance of the contractor.
Now, I've in my public service career, I've actually done this in communities I've worked in, and I would tell you the neat thing about it is once you have it on tape, you can sit in this office here or in the engineer's office when you're looking at making repairs, and you can back up, you can go forward, but it measures from the manhole to manhole. So if you're 20 feet down the manhole and you hit a break, it'll show a 20-foot, what the nature of the break is, and you can budget for the repairs. You can really study it. You can go back and forth on the tape that's produced. So you have all the information there. and at that point. This will also show you infiltration. I mean, I've actually seen wet soils that are spitting constantly water into the pipe. I mean, you can see it seeping down, and the roots we saw in this film that we saw tonight are not even bad compared to what you can see. Someplace the roots dramatically
Block the pipe, actually,
almost shield the whole pipe. I mean,
Sure.
they float with the water flowing through them. So anyway, it's kind of neat if you're into sewers.
Technology is there. That it's a great technology now. It's getting better and better resolution-wise and performance-wise. So,
Okay, are there other questions?
Yeah,
besides-
I have one real quick. If you had to estimate per section, how many working days would that take to handle in an annualized basis?
it all depends on the condition of the sewers as far as the cleaning. Some sewers will be pretty blocked with buildup, and those will require extensive cleaning. So
To access them.
they could do 2,000 feet a day sometimes, or sometimes some days they can't do more than 500 feet. It all depends on the condition of the sewer.
Okay, so it's predicated on the condition.
Yes.
So there's really without getting in there, you've got no idea if that's a 2-month job or a 24-month job
No.
for that particular section.
That's correct. And it has to do also with the weather conditions during heavy rainfall.
That was my next
events.
question.
We don't want to do that because you end up with lots of inflow in the system.
Or snow and ice and
And you don't want to send a camera in that is going to be submerged most of the time. We like to have the least flow possible when you're doing this process, so
Yeah.
you can see that in pretty much the entire circumference of the pipe instead of the upper half of it or so.
yeah, otherwise you get blurred vision.
I think that what Canton said, in my experience too, is that you're talking maybe 6 months, but probably less than 6 months a year you're going to do this.
Okay.
And I think, I'm just guessing, I don't know, but for one of our 5 sections, they could probably do that in 5-6 months.
Oh, less than
Easily.
that. That could be done in less than that. The longest part of the process will be the evaluation process. When you get the tape back to the office, start looking at the sewers to identify that. The field work is probably 2 months at most to do that.
Okay.
So what do we do with the equipment the other 7 months?
We just,
If we bought our own, you're saying?
Right. Well, this is
It's-
not buying our own, this is.
no, this is contracting it.
This is
yes,
contracted,
yes.
so,
Gotcha,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but I was also considering the opposing. If you hire the 4 people and buy the equipment, and it takes them 3 to 6 months a year, then we've got assets and human resources, to apply in other activities potentially, depending on the workload.
If we have the money.
If we have the money. Yeah, I'm looking at just doing the math in
We'll
my
have to
head.
do a comparison of what the costs are going to be both ways.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to bring employees on and relieve them,
The equipment that Canton bought, the one truck, and I guess, Les, you can speak to this, but we need to upgrade our truck that we clean the pipe with, right?
Right.
So the new, what do you call them?
The new technology is a hydraulic sewer cleaner with the TV capability right on that truck.
What do those run? $500,000?
I don't know if it's that high.
About 400.
We haven't got a quote on the combination rig, but like what Canton demonstrated to us, the Vector truck, the cleaning part of it is around 500, and the TV truck is 150. The combination vehicle obviously would be a little bit less because you only have one truck instead of 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I had
If we
made
got
contact-
bids, we would do
Right.
the analysis. The bids would be good for 90. We could even make it good for 120 days.
We can make them good for 120, but usually the norm is 90 days.
And during that period, once we have them in hand, we can study the alternatives,
Sure.
and that should be able to be done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we, after this first was discussed, John and I talked, and he contacted Doheny. And right away, Doheny wanted to come out with the truck and put a sales pitch on because they want to sell this equipment. I mean, it's
Sure.
big stuff. And before we did that, we went and looked at Canton's. So that's
Good.
And they'd be happy to come out at any time and put a demonstration on right here in the parking lot for us.
you mean Doheny?
Haney, the truck distributor.
So at any rate,
Well, if we go up to the expo this year in February, Duhaney will probably have that truck up there. We can talk to them then and get a general idea what that truck is going to cost.
you're talking about Public Works Expo?
There is one in Marsh at the airport. Usually it's in Marsh.
No, this is the
No,
one that's,
Operators Day.
This is the one that's in Lansing. It's a joint expo.
Yeah. The Joint Expo, it's a 2-day.
What's the name of the expo?
It's the Joint Expo, it's for Operators Day.
So do you go to it?
Yeah.
Would you go to it?
I've gone to it for the last umpteen years.
You still go to it?
Yep. The only thing is it's a boring ride up to Lansing.
You mean you're driving with Lorinda?
No. No.
Well, it's either John or Jerry.
Yeah, we go on opposite days.
Well, at any rate, if I would say right now, I mean, Les knows this stuff. If you want to go and one of you two or both of you are going to go get what information you can.
Okay.
If you're going to go to it, right? It would all fit in with what we're trying to accomplish. Okay? So, if there's no on this part of the agenda, are there other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to the action.
No, I'm just going to say that we have plenty of options. We could even, go out the first year and have a contractor while we're still looking at at a truck, so that we have the time.
Good.
But it is something we should do.
Now, we've really put this off a long time, and money's always been an issue, but I think we need to look at our sewer system completely up to date. So, if there are no other questions, thanks, Ohio. Then we'll move on to the action items. The first action item is you have in front of you page 22, which is to authorize a motion to authorize Raines Engineering to solicit bids for cleaning and televising of the sewer pipe. And I would hope that if we adopt this tonight, it was my thoughts, Ohio, that you would try to solicit bids by the end of January, or at least so we could have them in hand for our February meeting. Okay? So the motion would be to authorize Charles Raines to solicit bids for the cleaning and televising of the sanitary sewer system.
Support.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's somebody down there.
Les?
Motion by Jim Budney, supported by Les?
Yep.
Okay. Are there other questions? Further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Sahil. The next item is the new PLC, and Joe's going to explain what programming it's the PLC stands for, of the line system at the wastewater treatment plant. Joe, would you please come up? We have a resolution in front of us. I guess we should get a motion on the floor. The motion is to award the bid to Utilities Instrumentation Service, UIS, the lowest bidder in the amount of $17,429 for a new PLC for the control of the lime system at the wastewater treatment plant, based upon the recommendation of the Charles Raines Company.
So moved.
Motion. Is there support?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded it. So now, Joe, would you give the background on this?
Okay. We, at the wastewater plant, the process, there's residuals that we pull out of the water that comes to the wastewater plant, and we process it with lime to stabilize it, and then twice a year we haul it out to farm fields, and it's used as fertilizer. The system's been in since 1999. It replaced when we used to haul liquid sludge down to the Wyandotte wastewater treatment plant, and it's saved, I don't know, several $100,000 a year to use this process. Anyway, the system went in, the PLC failed.
What's a PLC?
It's programmable logical controller. It's basically the brains of the system. It starts pumps, stops pumps, mixers, opens and closes valves. It just makes the system automatic, and right now with that failed, we have to go through it and manually do it, and basically you got a guy right on the program the whole time. It failed, and then so we were just asking to get that replaced and get it back to an automatic system, along with putting in a float as a fail-safe, a float switch to kill all the pumps so that if the PLC fails, the tank won't overflow onto the ground.
Yeah, I just want, we did have this motion yesterday at our board meeting and was passed by the board, pending approval by the commission.
And I just want to explain, Lenny probably understands this, but to the audience, the township board's not going to meet again until January, correct?
Yeah.
Till January. And we need this equipment now, so we had authorized this to be bid out a couple of months ago. This commission did. A couple of us have been out and looked at it with Joe, looked at the control panels, and the need is there. We took bids. We got 3 bids. This is the lowest bid, and we suggested that it go before the township board last night. Normally, process comes back to this commission, but since everything was legitimately done, we got a good low bid, good company to do it. The township manager agreed to allow us to go forward to the township board last night, and we're just going to affirm it. So your motion was really based on our approval. So I wanted to explain that. So we have a motion on the floor. Are there questions? If there aren't any, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can purchase the Lime system. Next item, again with a wastewater plant. The motion, again in your packet, which is page 47, is to authorize the Charles Rains Company to solicit bids for the wastewater treatment plant equipment assessment and asset management plan. Joe, you're up to the podium. So, Hal, would you come up and give us some explanation before we make a motion? Everybody's had a chance to read this in the packet. There's quite an extensive summary of the work that would be required, and I'm assuming that this is all dictated by the Department of Environmental Quality?
Correct. Yeah, this, the information, the background information that we had in there is directly from the permit that took effect November 1st of this year. They finally got around to reissuing our permit, which expired in 2012. We all knew this was coming, the asset management plan. Action item 1 is actually part of all of this because it does include the collection system and the wastewater treatment plant and the lift stations, everything to do with conveying and processing the wastewater on the island. All those assets have to be put into an asset management plan, given a value, life expectancy, expected replacement cost, criticality of failure. The whole bunch of stuff has to go into this plan, and it's now part of our permit, and we have to submit by September 1st of 2017 this plan to the MDEQ. And as I said, this was not a surprise. We all knew it. Well, those of us that were in on the discussions with DEQ and on the ACO and all that other stuff, this was coming. It's all major wastewater plants, and that's anything over 1 million gallons a day, in the state have to have it. And now it's moving to the smaller plants and drinking water systems that will be next.
Okay.
Just to add to what Joe mentioned, again, it is asset management. It stands for what it says. Anytime you have an asset, you have to keep track of the condition, the needs, the improvements that are necessary, and just to keep it going. Otherwise, if you forget about it and let it go, it's going to progressively deteriorate and fail, and you'll end up with non-compliance issues. What DEQ is heading toward in this process is to make sure that communities that operate these systems stay on top of them, make sure that they have a tracking mean to assess them, evaluate them, identify problems, improve them before they fail, so they can keep operational. So that's the gist of it. And there are arguments out there that this is a mandate that's not legal, but again, it's who's going to challenge that?
Do we have anything?
What do we expect to bid on this?
There are lots of companies that specialize in this type of work. They're mostly professional companies that do assessment of elements, components of treatment plants, and they're basically engineering companies that specialize in this type of work.
Is your firm going to bid on it?
I'm not going to bid on it, no, but I may just go out and find some consultants that can do it.
Sahil or Joe, do we have anything like this now? I mean, even in a obviously a less formal program, do we have?
Yes.
I mean, it just seems like it makes sense that you would have something like this.
Several years ago, we asked to upgrade the maintenance management system, which does keep track of, it spits out work orders and keeps track of all corrective maintenance jobs that we do. And it also has a capability to enter in more information, like the criticality of failure values and replacement costs. A lot more data can be entered into this system that we now have. Mm-hmm. So we have a head start.
Thank you.
And of course, it's also we in the list of items for the wastewater plant, which are found on page 50 or 51. 51. It's highlighted in there on page 51. I think Lorinda highlighted that that it was included in the list of items we had hoped to undertake. At least there's a figure. So I would assume that you're going to invite 3 or 4 or 5 firms to bid on this?
We'll put it out for advertisement and see who can bid on. If we don't get more than 3, we'll start making phone calls. I mean, there are lots of companies out there that can handle this.
There, even United Water, or we're not United Water, Suez. Earthtech. Even they, some of them, they have some people that would even do this stuff too. They might even bid. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
If I can, what's the trend? I mean, are cities bringing people on to manage it themselves, or are most cities and townships subcontracting this to engineering firms?
This is just a plan development.
Okay.
So once the plan is all set, then it would be between DPS and whoever manages, like right now you contract, the township contracts with Suez to operate the wastewater plant.
Okay.
Well, I think what Lenny asked, is there a trend? And in my opinion, which is probably limited, but I'll give it anyway, I don't see a trend. I think that if I'm answering your question, communities that have long time staffed with their own employees continue to do that, and communities that years ago when they started up, contracted it out, do that.
Okay.
I don't see a big trend. Do you, Joe?
No, it's probably in Michigan, it's almost going back the other way to townships and cities taking over their own systems. There's a lot less contracts in Michigan than there was, say, 5-10 years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know that was even changing, but yeah. Okay, back to this issue then. Are there other questions on it, Ted?
Not knowing what the numbers are that are going to come back, this may go legal because this is truly a non-funded mandate,
right,
by the state of Michigan, and I don't know what these numbers are going to come back like.
I don't either.
And if they come back over the moon, then we would have to consider perhaps challenging demands by the state for us to do this without adequately funding the program. But we can make that decision.
Yeah, I think it's a good thought. It's an unfunded mandate.
It is a requirement that a third party do assess it. I mean, we couldn't just go in and assess our own. Is that correct? That's the way I understand it.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody
that they would accept.
I don't know
if
of
we
anybody
did our
who
own
does
program.
that.
You can do it within their guidelines. If you follow their guidelines, you can do it in-house. The only thing is, it's a little bit of an involved process. I mean, it's not something
yeah, well, yeah, it
your
absolutely
staff
would
to
be.
do. So that's why it's better to get a consultant to come in and do all of the
do it
assessment. And then if you ever pursue it toward the end, you have to develop these tables, these programs that they're basically elaborate spreadsheets that you have the components set, the condition, the needed repair, the cost of the repair, the livelihood,
Life
the
and-
failure, the criticality.
Well, it's
of
almost like a capital plan.
it is.
It's exactly what it is.
And there's probably software available to take and do that.
There are lots of different
Software
softwares that are
packages.
available. One of them is CityWorks, for example. It's very involved, expensive software that will require renewal every year at $5,000, $6,000 cost. But again, practically, you just put the condition, it spits out the rest of it for
Puts
you.
out the rest, okay.
Makes your life much easier. Just like anything that DEQ is requiring, for example, the water system, the reliability study that we performed, they made us come up with a 5-year capital improvement, a 20-year capital improvement plan. Their whole goal is to make sure that you are cognizant with the condition of your system and the needs of the system, so you don't let it go and let it deteriorate. So.
Well, one thing I would guess, and we could lead into this, is that if companies bid on this, we can ask them for references for communities where they've done this exact work, and then we can check with those communities what they paid for it. How maybe it was years ago, I don't know, but I think a good point is if we're going to proceed with this, and we're not saying we're going to proceed with it, if the costs are outlandish, that'll be a further discussion. So, I've forgotten now. Do we have a motion?
We didn't have a motion
Okay.
yet.
Is there a motion to authorize our engineers to solicit bids for the wastewater treatment plant equipment assessment and asset management plan?
There is. I so move.
I will second it.
All right, moved and supported. Is there further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the manager's reports. Arinda?
Joe, do you want to give it up on the lift station, on the generators?
Oh. Yeah, Joe, we have asked for an update on the generator completion and activation update.
Okay, meters were being installed today, and generator startup is tomorrow. Scheduled for tomorrow.
How about that for timely?
Well, for our newest member's sake, would you give, there are 5 lift station locations?
5 lift stations, basically to pump the sewage from out like Swan Island, Elba Island, Hickory Island. So they're pretty small lift stations. But whenever we have power failures, we have trailer-mounted portable generators that we have to haul around to station, and
during the storm in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Yeah, the weather is
like
not
you see on
nice.
Southfield and Allen Park whenever it rains heavy. They bring out the trailers to repump everything out and everything.
Yeah, well, this is just to keep it running during a power failure. And so that the township has put out the expenditure to put in permanent fixed natural gas generators at each lift station. And kind of a slow process getting DT out here to put the meters, install the gas meters, but that happened the most of the stations today. I think one more station, Swan Island, happens tomorrow. And then the generator people are here for startup, and that's tomorrow also.
Okay.
So,
and these will be auto start?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Finally, going to be under operation. All right. Next is the Neighborhood Street Improvement Program for this year. John?
We're done. We are finished now. I just submitted last payment for GV. So as soon as that expenditure comes out, I can go ahead and invoice Wayne County for reimbursement.
Now that invoicing, the treasurer will be aware of it, and
Oh, yeah.
township manager.
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
Last invoicing took, 8, 9 months
Oh,
to
it
get
took
paid?
months.
Now, this is a grant program from Wayne County for neighborhood roads. It was 2 years. There's no more money left. So in 2 years, we've had over $1 million worth of concrete repairs in neighborhoods. And that stuff's expensive. A lot of it around the high school, on Grays Drive, Park Lane, and so forth. But I noticed a difference. It's made a big impact. So,
And the residents have noticed it and appreciate it. I do have a question for you, Lorinda, on the restoration, especially like what they did when they were working in November. You know, they throw down a shovel full of topsoil, throw some seed on it. By next year, that's not going to be anything.
So they'll be back to
They
make
will be
repairs.
back.
Yeah, they'll have
Okay.
to come back.
Okay.
We have a little bit of retainage left.
Okay,
Yeah, we have just a little bit left.
thanks.
any questions on the street program? Okay, item number 3 is West River Road Water Main Project update.
Ohio?
So Hal, would you give us an update of where you are with the engineering design?
We are almost, I want to say about 80% done with the design. As we discussed, we are putting this main in the easterly lane of West River Road in the hope that Wayne County will come up with some funding so we can do the westerly lane. And that's what you and Mr. Budney are going to be meeting with Candrivas about. Hopefully he'll deliver. We like to do this project the way we intended. We like to open cut the easterly lane, install the water main by open cut, pave it, come back in rotomill and pave the westerly lane. This way we'll have at least a consistent surface all the way through. Hopefully when Mr. Candrivas shows up, he realizes how much of a need there is to improve West River Road. It's not getting any better, but it's progressively getting bad. So,
Yes, and of course the east lane is the worst lane. The northbound lane is the worst lane with all the rutting, and that's going to be fixed. That's a 2-mile section from the sewage plant all the way to Church Road, basically.
Okay.
And we've had you'll have to catch up on all this stuff, but we've had maps and all this before.
Okay.
Seen it, so.
the criticality of this project will complete the 12-inch loop around the entire island. So that's the only section that we have left that's not 12-inch and brand new. It's in age, I think it's 80 years old. If Les can confirm that, and probably
Well,
more than that. So.
Before you leave, I think if you look at the back of your packet, second to the last, the third to the last page, is a picture of, this is the Church Road water main. We've had this on our horizon too, but it's a 6-inch main. John, did you take this picture? Or?
George took the picture.
Okay, so you want to explain this? This is a water main break.
We replaced the fire hydrant on Church Road at Colonial Court, and that's the interior of the main from the
So of a 6-inch pipe, how many inches were open?
4.
And that's all corrosion on the inside the pipe. So, and let's see, you said, would you explain the gate valves were broken, resulting in water shutoff on Church from West River to Meridian?
Correct. There was a gate valve right next to the hydrant replacement, and so we anticipated shutting the water off from Colonial Court going west to West River Road. Well, with that gate valve being broken and the next one to the east being broken as well, we ended up having to shut the whole main off on Church Road from Meridian to West River Road.
This water main is what's less, is it older than you, this water main?
Yes.
Good answer.
Yes, it is.
It's like 70 years old?
It is over 70, yes.
So anyway, and the one on West River Road is that same age, so.
Correct.
What we're doing is very important for fire flow purposes anyway. So that's a good update. And as I said, tomorrow, Mr. Budney and I are going to drive it with Mr. Candrivas of Wayne County. And the thought is, when you're finished with the plans,
we will set up
along with Mr. Budney, myself, whatever, and you're going to hand deliver the plans to the county
design
engineers
division downtown, not to the permit
with
department.
the request again that it be reviewed within a certain time, and that they help us fund the other lane.
And help us with the permit department to get it permitted. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
I got one. What have we figured out what we're going to do with the leads?
The leads on the sanitary?
On that old sewer.
We are going to replace that old sewer and reconnect the leads to the new sewer that we're going to be put in place. We're not going to cross the road to go to the other side. It'll be either done by pipe bursting or open cut excavation. It's a shallower installation, cheaper, and it'll be very reliable.
Yeah, it's in bad shape.
We did televise it. John had advanced underground televise it. It's in a terrible condition, and it needs to be addressed. But we thought the cheapest, easiest way to do it is to either pipe burst.
Did you compare what it would cost to be pipe bursting and doing all that compared to just digging up and tying the people into the interceptor?
We haven't done a evaluation cost-wise because we figured that it's going to be very deep to cross the road 8 or 9, 10 times to the other side.
It's not really that deep on that side. It is deeper, but it's not really that deep.
I mean, it's more involved. This way, if we replace the sewer in place, it'll probably be cleaner and easier process to do so.
Yeah.
But again, we can get the estimate. My recommendation is to replace the existing sewer in place and connect to it.
Now, for the 2-mile water main, there's 11 homes that were on an old sewer.
Okay.
Just 11. And we're going to replace that sewer at the same time.
Okay.
It'll be same project, so.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions? If not, thank you again, Sohail, for being here. Discussion items. The first one is Great Lakes Water Authority. We've had our initial meetings to sign our contract. Our contract's expired with Detroit, and now Detroit System, DWSD, Detroit Water Sewer System, is now Great Lakes Water Authority. And we had a meeting a couple months ago with them. Their attorneys, they gave us all the contracts. It's a 30-year contract that's proposed. I'm going to guess it's going to take sometime, hopefully by the end of this next year, where we've made a decision on what we're doing. But at any rate, nothing's happened in the last 2 months that I'm aware of. Ted?
Right.
Bear with me. I had Ann run some numbers on this project. And over the 30-year contract proposal, based on their 4%, which is the absolute minimum, we'd be looking at something like $159 million. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We'd be looking at something like $70 million. Taking the historical increases over the past 25 years, which has averaged out to about 8%. That number goes up to $159 million over 30 years.
Oh, if it's at 8%?
If it goes up to 8%. If we factor in Genesee County, which they told us is going to leave in 4 years, and our rates will increase by an additional 7%. If we factor that in, we're looking at numbers real close to $200 million over 30 years. Now, they are currently penalizing the township for not having a contract. Last year was $220,000.
In penalties.
Penalties. That's increased water rates. This year they're anticipating that to be $280 million. I'm sorry, $280,000.
Are they raising the percentage?
No.
Well, how does it
Well, they are raising the percentage. That's the number they're coming up with now. This is an arbitrary number. There is no percentage affixed to this. This is their arbitrary number as a penalty to us because we don't sign a contract. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But on an average household, that equates to about $5.19 per month. So the urgency, although it's urgent, isn't a crushing amount. I personally feel that charge is illegal.
Right.
And I think at some point in time, we need to negotiate with them or challenge it in court. because I don't think they can arbitrarily charge ratepayers an additional 24% when their cost of operation is nothing additional.
Right.
I mean, it'll be a challenge, and I'm beginning to sound like I like lawyers. I don't.
Sure, understood.
No
I
offense,
do.
John.
I do. You know what? If it wasn't for lawyers, then this country wouldn't be what it is today.
You're right.
Sometimes you have to step up when you're in the
That's right.
Well,
So,
what you're
just
saying.
So you know, we aren't going to negotiate with them, because if we were to build, we took a number of about $35 million to build our own plant. Now that's roughly based on some actual numbers that we got 7 or 8 years ago. Taking that factor with the bond, including the operational cost, which is a guesstimate by Joe, we figured about 3% more than running the sewage treatment plant. Total cost of that operation would only be $78 million over 30 years. So it's starting to look like if it push comes to shove, we're going to have to reactivate looking at that as an option. And secondly, Trenton has 2 more years left on their contract. They haven't renewed. So there is a viable partner out there if we decide to go that way in the next few years.
Sure.
So I just want to know that we do run the numbers.
Right, no, understood.
And it's not a knee-jerk reaction that we're going to take here. But I think at some point in time in the near future, we're going to have to challenge this $280,000.
No, yeah, agreed. If you take, and as you draw these lines out over 30 years, the numbers do get very big very quick.
Yeah,
and the $35 million becomes.
And I
cheap.
would almost think that the numbers that you project over 30 years, they could skyrocket much more. I mean,
well, I don't know. We used a 25-year average. I mean, they said, well, you can't do that. Well, what's more accurate than a 25-year average? In my opinion, that's a real number. It's 8%.
Well,
and then the unknowns are if other cities drop out of it for unknown reasons, then it just continues to skyrocket.
They're supposedly aggressively looking to put on more cities to the west. How successful they're going to be, we don't know that.
Well, this is interesting information, and what I'd ask if maybe by our February meeting, Ann could put that, she's got the month of January, into some kind of a memo with the footnotes in it, so that a layman could follow it.
I would hope that
this is hypothetical analysis, but it's very good, and I'd like to see that put in writing, so we have it as a backdrop to what we got to study.
Hopefully we'll have had some communications with them between now and then.
And and the only thing I want to clarify, Ted, is it could be viewed as a penalty, but it's our water rate. The water rate is 20% higher than it would be if we were to join their system. So we'd get a 20% reduction in their raw water rate if we joined their system. But the other side of that is, what are the risks we're running with what capital programs they're going to come up with that they have not announced yet?
They've announced projected $10 billion capital improvement program over the next 20 years. Billion.
I haven't seen maybe they have, but I haven't seen how it's going to affect. I haven't seen a cost projection how it's going to affect rates or anything yet.
How do you know? I mean, how could they possibly get? I mean, they can't tell us what we're going to pay now.
But they know their customer base, and if they're going to propose $10 billion of improvements, there's got to be a formula for repayment that they're going to have in place someplace.
Sure.
That's new debt on top of what they have.
I just wanted you to know.
No, I think that's great information, and like I say, I'd like to see it written up with a few footnotes so that a layman can follow it as a base for where we are today.
Sure.
Yeah,
thank you,
Mr. Chair. I would suggest that maybe at our February meeting, we actually put a subcommittee together to start working on this. I mean, we talk about, we know we have to do it. Let's get something together and start looking at it.
Well, I think we talked, my recollection is going to be flimsy on this, but because of the nature of it, we're not just dealing with something that this commission, this is really something that involves the township board. And if you recall, I thought we had a committee that Ted was on it, myself, and you, township manager, township attorney, and other staff. I mean,
Well, maybe because nothing's been done, I forgot about it. But
no, we had the one meeting with them. But I mean, I don't think a committee should just be from this commission. Is my point. This is too big an issue. We ought to have part of it.
I think this needs to start with Ohio. In
He
the
should be
plans that he has, we need to sit down with him, you, myself, Jim. We need to sit down with Ohio and take a look at what it's going to take to reactivate those old plans.
Old studies. We probably got to have them redone. But
we spent $30,000.
And of course there's new technology out there too, which is going to affect it. So it's not just taking the old.
And when we did the study before, Riverview was included. Yeah. Riverview is no longer included.
Right, they're out.
So I still think the township manager should be part of that as well.
Sure.
Oh, and and that's fine. Whatever it is, I mean, but we need to start doing something on it so we know where we're going.
I think the township supervisor is involved in that too, because he was involved in that first meeting we had. All right.
Yep.
So let's assume, unless somebody objects, that yourself, myself, and Mr. Ben Oz would be part of the committee at this point. And to get on it? Okay with you? Yeah. You'd like to get on it? Yeah. All right. Phil would like to be on the committee.
That's fine.
Okay. Going to be waterlogged here. All right, so that's an update. Ted, that was great information. Thank you. Ted, so you're going to have Van put some layman's, just put it in a simple memo form. I mean, it's good information to have to chew on.
Sure.
Okay? Because without that, we're going to forget it. I mean, not forget it.
Trust me, we're not going to forget it.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to have it on a piece of paper, okay? I made some notes, but, okay? All right. And the next item is Lorinda's, solid waste.
Yeah, we received a proposal from the Riverview Land Preserve. If you recall, a few months back, John Mena had approached the commission, told you guys that the letter was coming. They'd been in negotiations with a subcommittee from the DCC. Those negotiations have kind of gone on the wayside. And so they started going around to the individual cities and presented the proposal before you. I spoke to Derek Thiel in Gibraltar. They had already previously signed on with Riverview for a 10-year contract. They also have a clause in there, he said, like a Me Too type clause, so if we get a better deal, so does he. So I went back and I looked at our tonnage reports for the last 5 or 6 years, and based on what they're offering us right now, we currently pay $20.33 a ton. They're offering us $18.72 for the first 2 years. So right off the top, we're saving about $6,200 if we have the same tonnage.
This is a note you left on our.
Yeah, I brought that in, so you guys could see that. So and I put together a little spreadsheet to show you where we're at. Now I do know that Allen Park is no longer with the city or with Riverview Land Preserve. They've opted to go with their disposal people. And Southgate also decided to go with Rizzo to their dumping sites. So there's still a dozen communities that are still involved with the Riverview Land Preserve, and we like to negotiate in numbers so we can get the best deal out there. So I don't know if you guys want to do a subcommittee, or if you want to just, if we want to put this to the board. They would like to see us have a resolution to form some sort of an agreement that we would like to enter into a contract for the next 10 years. They did give us some numbers, if you go to page number 54, what they're proposing right now. Like I said, the first 2 years, $18.72, and after that years, they have the CPI, and they put in there, but not less than 1.5 nor more than 3. But if you notice that on that one spreadsheet that I gave you guys, if you notice in the one column where it has the CPI, it kind of gives you, through the years, the percentage increases that we were already
Page is that on?
under. That was in the handout I put on there
Okay.
tonight. There's no number. It's just a spreadsheet.
Well, I'd like you to explain that. It's the back sheet of the packet you gave us with the red line through it.
Yep, this one.
Everybody got that? It's got this red line through it?
So the one that's highlighted are our trash tonnage for the last 6 years. And below that, I have the price per tonnage through the years with the CPI below it, and then the rate.
So they're offering a rate of $18.72,
Correct.
which takes us back prior to 2010, their rates.
Between 2010 and 2011, between 2011 and 2012.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. So why are they offering us a lower price?
They're negotiating with us because they have a 10-year plan. They want to, like everybody else, like Great Lakes wants a 30-year contract. They want to do planning for the next 10 years. That way, if they have all the communities committing to it, they'll know the dollar amount that's coming in. All contracts will expire at the same time. Our current contract doesn't expire until the end of next year. So they're trying to get a jump on this.
So we would get a rate decrease.
Correct. Yeah, for the first couple of years.
Lorenda, I think the last time when we negotiated with them, I was the interim manager. That was before Barry came.
You know,
And
because through the years they've had addendums, and I've got like a file this thick that shows all the addendums and stuff. And the last one I can find is in 2008, and in that I highlighted where the end of the contract is next year. I can't find anything after that.
Yeah, because all the other cities, I remember meeting in these, going to different places to meet, and we would sit there and negotiate with Riverview, and finally Riverview just gave up and gave us all a real good price.
I think that's what they're doing this time. I think they were tired of negotiating with the subcommittee, and they just decided to go ahead and go to each individual city so we all have the same contract.
Makes sense.
That's just about what they did last time, when I was the interim manager.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of comments I have that in the handout you gave us tonight, which is the current contract, page 2 of it says the annual adjustment, the rate of increase shall be the consumer price index factor, but not exceeding 5%. Under this proposal they're giving us, it would be not less than 1.5%, but not exceeding 3%.
Correct. Yeah, part of that I included in the email that I had from the consortium when they were negotiating. So you could see how they were bartering back and forth, and they just finally just called a halt to it all.
I mean, to me, this is a no-brainer. The one respect is that our waste hauler, Waste Management, they bid our contract to haul to this facility, which is the closest landfill by far, mileage that is, than any other landfill. If we were to direct them to go to another landfill, which is 5 to 8, if it's in Canton, it'd be 10, 15 miles further.
Mhm.
That's time and money that they would have to come back and adjust our rates for, on the hauling part of it, not just the landfill part of it.
I'm glad you brought that up too.
Yeah.
Because we're in our last year of the contract for our waste haulers as well. So we're going to have to get that going beginning of next year.
And, yeah, and so we have to consider if we were to pick someone else that maybe doesn't use.
Well, we normally tell them who we
where to
use,
go.
yeah,
Okay.
because the township's been very loyal to the Riverview Land Preserve, and we've always told whoever it's been, from ABCOR on up, that's who we use.
Well, and the big issue with this hauling for refuse, is distance, time and distance, from the community to the disposal site. So, and the other thing is the last couple of years, I know there's a little media coverage going on with a company called Rizzo right now that's gotten a lot of municipal contracts, particularly in Macomb County, Detroit, and northern Oakland.
Even a couple downriver.
But at any rate, the competition because of fuel pricing, basically. I mean, these companies, if you go back 10 years ago, they were never expecting that they'd be paying diesel fuel, or now a lot of them are shifting over to gas or to
Natural gas
for for garbage trucks. But they didn't expect the fuel to be as cheap as it is.
Right.
So pricing's actually gotten more competitive. So I'm not worried about, I don't think at this point, the collection and hauling part of it. To me, this seems like a no-brainer unless we're missing something. But is anybody else?
No.
I don't know that we need to study it further. I mean,
Okay.
we didn't have it as an action item tonight.
No. So, I mean, we can make an action item if you want to enter into an agreement with them. I just don't have their actual contract yet. Once I do get it, I'd like to have Mr. Assorti review it before I send it to the
All right.
board.
So we're not planning a meeting in January.
Correct.
Was this okay if it would come back at our February meeting?
Let me check with, I'll give John a call and talk to him tomorrow, but if I could I email it to you, whatever I find out?
Sure.
Do it that way? And Lenny, I'll need your email address too. I think I have it. I want to make sure it's correct.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, let me check with John. Let me see what kind of a contract I can get. That way I can email it out. I'll have Tom review it prior to it going to the board.
And give him a deadline to get it back.
Oh, I will. I know how he is.
What I'm saying is, if it doesn't matter to them, take us up at our February meeting, what's the difference? Maybe there is no difference.
Right. It may make no
Yeah,
difference.
that's what you have to find out.
I'll
if
find
there's
out.
A difference.
Yeah. Because they were trying to push me to the end of the year. I went, no. I said, no, my commission's going to review it. If they have questions, I want to be able to come back to you and talk to you about it. So we're all in agreement. I'll get a hold of John tomorrow.
Well, we have a contract. Are they going to change the contract? Do you know?
No, they shouldn't be changing it from what you see here, but this is not an actual contract that we need to sign. It's just a proposal. Thank you.
We have to see a contract.
What you handed out this evening at the table is an agreement. It's an addendum to the agreement.
That's an old one. That was the one from February of 2008. Is that the one you're talking about? Right. That was an old one that I found in the file that we have been referring to.
Is that going to be updated is what you're thinking?
So I'm thinking that probably is going to be updated.
All right. Well, then you'll get the answers and come back to us.
Yep. We don't need to do anything on this, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
I suppose if necessary, if it's essential, we could always have a special meeting, but I'm not sure that's going to be necessitated at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. And if we had to act, and I know some people are going to be gone in January, if we can get a quorum, we could
Yeah.
get it done.
I have one more thing.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay, well, everybody heard about this last night, but at the American Public Works Association Christmas luncheon last Thursday, Jim was able to attend along with Brian Loftus and Dale Riem. The township was awarded the 2016 Project of the Year for our East River Road water main.
Yay!
Yay! So we got a nice little plaque.
Can you let's pass that around
all right.
so these guys.
Well,
we showed this at the board yesterday.
What was the unique feature? Why we got
Oh
the
my
award?
goodness, they had 7 criteria. So I'm not going to go through everything, but I'll do it real quick. So, number 1 was the construction schedule. We all know Vertiter was ahead of schedule by 5 weeks. Number 2 was safety performance. They had 0 injuries or lost man hours on the job. 3 was community relations. We held a town hall meeting prior to the construction project starting. We were able to meet with some of the residents, get their utilities that were on the east side of East River Road mapped out to where, because Miss Dig doesn't mark private utilities, so they were able to do that for us. What else? Environmental considerations. There was a concern over there on the fire protection because of the size of the water main and the number of fire hydrants. We were able to replace it, 2 miles of water main, and we now have adequate fire protection. No lost water at that time. We were able everybody was never out of water. So the fifth one was unusual accomplishments. It was a hot summer. We had a hard time getting the grass to germinate over there, but once it took, it took. Another challenge I had already mentioned were the private utilities, and I'm missing one on that one. Oh, yeah, I'm getting money back from Wayne County is right. So additional considerations were they used a construction cost management tool. And maybe you can talk about that because I don't know much about it. It was a construction cost management tool. It was a key element in keeping the project within budget so that the project leader got weekly reports with the quantities so they could match everything up so that we were always within budget. Secondly, I told you we had the town hall meeting, and third, they used the new technology, horizontal directional drill. Thank you. The last one was the use of alternative materials, and that was the use of the HDPE pipe. Some of the advantages of using it is that, it was corrosion resistant, complete leak-proof system. It was chemically resistant, very strong. It met all MDEQ requirements and regulations, and now the township has a sustainable system for many decades to come. So hopefully none of us will be here the next time they have to replace it. Because we'll be really, really old.
We won't be here.
We'll be very, very old.
Other than Ted.
So anyways, and the residents were really, really good to work with. We were very lucky on this project. It went very smooth. John was out there in the field every single day, guiding them along. I was able to go out and watch them feed this pipe down through the ground, and it kind of reminded me of a snake just going down into the ground, just disappearing.
It was
just
amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah. So you guys should be very proud.
Can't overlook the struggle that went on with financing it too, thanks to Ted. So,
Yep.
At any rate,
Great
so at this
engineering.
point, why don't we go around the table? Commissioners' comments. Ted?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay, thank you. Les?
Merry Christmas to my fellow commissioners and a Happy New Year to you guys.
Bill?
Just a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, enjoy the month off.
Just a quick story. The day after Thanksgiving, I met an 89-year-old guy that was very, very interesting. His name was Dick Thalen. And Dick is a Michigan resident, lives in Lansing, was visiting my house with some other people. And he was on the Indianapolis when it was torpedoed. And he was kind enough to share some of that experience. It was unbelievably enlightening to know what the 317 survivors went through that day. 880 crew were dead. Dick had just finished the watch, and it was so hot below decks he was sleeping on the surface of the ship when the first torpedo hit and took the 60 front feet off the Indianapolis. Within moments thereafter, the magazine section of the ship was struck again, and Dick was rocked to his side. The ship itself went down in 12 minutes, and Dick was left with a life jacket and his BVD boxers, and that's all he had when he hit the water. When the ship sank, it didn't create a suction because it sank so very slowly. And these fellas were in the water at sea, lying in fuel oil for 5 days. No food, no water. And Dick survived that as a 17-year-old young sailor. And so I think it's really a good thing once in a while to think about the heroics of a lot of those World War II people. And it was very enlightening. It was extremely interesting. And that's all. That was as short as I could make it.
Thank you.
Wow.
Start, Jim Budney.
Well, I too wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Sahil, Joe, even Jim, Lorinda, and John, of course. I hope you guys have a very nice holiday. They work very hard for us. I also want to welcome Lenny to the commission. I think he'll be a great asset. I think you all will find that. And just one quick question for you, Lorinda. We had a lost water report that you had in there. Would it be possible to also get another column of the dollars involved?
That's the last page of the packet.
Yep.
I looked at that with a very frustrating eye.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. You know, if anybody wants, I wasn't going to even discuss it because I don't think it needs as much as cost.
I always like to put dollars to it. What's it costing us?
Yeah,
it's just
well,
me. That's just me, but yeah. But
the issue is, Jim.
Well, the issue is why.
Well, I think we have to relook at this report before it's valid, because if you look at just the April, the first line in it, we purchased 20 million gallons of water from Detroit, and it shows that we only billed 14 million. Well, that has to do with the section that's getting the quarterly bill at that time. Doesn't have, you really got, the only valid figure is the bottom line for the annual period, where it shows 209 million gallons of water purchased, and our water loss was 3,000,009 or 4 million gallons. So in terms of a percentage, that's a very small percentage, 2% or something of that sort, on an annual basis. The rest of those, there's no correlation. I think we have to re-examine this. The correlation has to be not what you purchase per month, but what area you're billing. You're only billing a quarter.
Yeah, that would throw that off, wouldn't it?
And so I think this whole thing is. Barry used to, when Barry was our former director, he used to produce something like this, but he never liked it either.
This is the same thing.
Barry never liked it either, and I don't know if you.
Well, Bill, that's why I asked what our lost water report was. Since we've replaced all this water main, and we got all the new meters and everything in.
Okay.
What is our percentage of lost water?
So the last time, the question Les is raising, the real legitimate thing is we have to have somebody come in, and there are firms that do a water loss analysis. They're not our normal engineers. They're experts. It's all they do, right? So, Lorinda, the last time we had a water loss analysis report done, I can't even remember, but I think it was like 7 or 8%. But it was years ago. Barry was still alive. And I don't know how many years ago that was now, 5 or 6 years ago. And it could have been before that. So if we really want to have a water loss analysis done, we should identify a couple of firms, give us a proposal, and come in and do it. But this, if I'm correct, purchase of wholesale water from Detroit and then amount we bill, there's nothing to, I mean, it's only a portion of the picture. We bill quarterly.
Yeah.
So, you understand? Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, it does. I forgot about that factor. That.
So I think that when I looked at this, I was pretty frustrated. I first looked at it, started thinking about it. So that's not even the way it is. It's not even worth discussing until we reconfigure it somehow. And on an annual basis, seems to me that.
Well, that was what I asked, what the annual rate of lost water was. Because I can remember the day when we were up into 40-some% lost water.
Well,
It was land. Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, if we really want to tackle that, I think it's something we need to think about bringing somebody in that can do a water loss analysis for us.
I don't think there's not to replace all the pipes.
Sile? Yeah.
All it is
It's a percent.
what you bought and what you sold. You're going to have lost water due to flushing.
You have no major problem.
And whatever.
And leaks.
And leak. So that is your percentage of lost water.
1.5%.
I mean, you don't measure, if a fire department turns on a fire hydrant, you're not going to measure that water loss. City like Detroit. Well, sure. Jim, I cut you off. Does that answer your question?
That answers my last question.
You're still going to lose the water anyway, whatever it is.
John, do you have any final comments tonight?
Ron,
Ron and Lenny.
about me.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot
again.
about you. I'd just like to welcome Lenny to the committee, and I'd like to thank John and Lorinda and Joe and Sohail for doing all the work they do for us, and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I would also say, Jim, you're missed. I would like to say that, but.
Who?
Lenny, do you have a
Yeah, thanks everybody for accepting me. I do appreciate that. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Well, I guess there's nothing left for me to say except Merry Christmas to everybody. But, Lenny, you've gotten involved with us, all the exciting things we do, streets, potholes, drains, mud, sewers, garbage. Thank you for being here.
My absolute pleasure.
So, with that, entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
will make a motion.
Call me and I give up my turn.
Yeah, now you forgot about them.
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
Merry Christmas to you as well, Bill. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you. Anyway, the fire hydrant.
Wait a minute, he's not done.
Oh, you're not done? Okay.
No.
Gee, John.
Just like to inform everyone, the fire hydrant winterization program has been completed. And with all the snow we've received recently, if residents could do us a favor and shovel out around their fire hydrants, definitely not plow them in, that would be a giant help to us. We're in the process now going around and trying to expose all the hydrants that might be covered. And I'd just also like to mention anyone on a crawl space in their house might want to let their water trickle run for the next few nights while we get these very frigid temperatures. Otherwise, your line is going to freeze and possibly break. And that's it. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, John. Lorinda? Okay, thank you. All right, now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Then I will support you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.